So today's date is January 26th, 2024. My name is Kelly Zakovic. I'm representing the City of Savannah's Municipal Archives, and I'm interviewing Cynthia Jackson Formey for the Savannah Community Memory Project. We're conducting this interview at the Liberty City Community Center. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Can you go ahead and just tell us your full name?
My full name is Cynthia Shanice Jackson Formey,
Thank you. And what neighborhood are you here to tell us about today?
Tatemville.
Okay. So just to orient us, can you tell us what you think the boundaries of Tatemville are?
The boundaries of Tatemville are to the south, Hunter Air Force Base. To the, let's go around, well, north is, see, we're not sure about that. It's 61st Lane as far as I know. And to the west, it's the Deanie Fraser overpass, over the Deanie Fraser overpass from Tatemville side. The overpass is in Tatemville. Deanie Fraser grew up in Tatemville. She was our county commissioner. Okay, but anyway, that's another story. But and to the east is Montgomery Street.
Okay, super. Thank you. So can you tell us when you were born?
I was born May 19th, 1954 on Waters Avenue, from what I can surmise and from my birth certificate. I didn't bring all of that, but anyway, my parents moved to Tatemville in 1954. I was an arm baby. How many months old, I don't know. But they always just said I was an arm baby. My brother that's a year old, well, he's not really a year older, 10 months older, was a knee baby. And my younger brother was born in Tatemville. He's the only one that was born in Tatemville.
And where do you live now?
Still live in Tatemville. After my divorce, I moved back home with my children. And my parents are now deceased. And I live in the family home. But we lived two different places in Tatemville. We initially, when they moved to Tatemville, we lived on Meyer Street, which is the street closest to the interstate. The interstate came through our backyard, so we had to move. Then we moved further up in Tatemville on Harriet Street. And in 1974 or 5, we tore the old house down and built a new house. Built a new house on Harriet Street, a brick house. We had a wooden house before, a brick house. And if I'm not mistaken, the original house on Harriet Street belonged to somebody in the Harriet family. From what we could surmise, Robert Harriet was a photographer. But that street in particular, well, it was like, I think it was about 5 or 6 streets, was where Caucasians lived, or white people. Everything else around it was basically African American. So our neighborhood has always been integrated. But most people look at it as an African American community because mostly blacks live there now, but we have other races or nationalities moving back in. So.
Anything else you'd like to share about it being a long-term integrated neighborhood?
I don't really know. Well, when we moved from Meyer Street to Harriet Street, we actually used to play with our neighbors, black and white. and I can remember some of the, well, anyway, I don't remember all of their names, but anyway. But we integrated our street. So we moved in, most of the other whites moved out. Eventually, not right away, but eventually. But we moved there was whites still on our street.
Did everybody get along, or were there tensions?
Oh, no tensions. Everybody got along. No tensions.
And
I
so,
shouldn't be telling that part because most people don't know that, and then they'll be saying, well, Cynthia is pro whatever, so whatever.
it's part of the history.
Please edit all this stuff.
So what were your parents' names?
My parents' names were, my father's name is Fred Martin Jackson, and my mother's name is Maddie Lee Wiggum Jackson, and they both came from the city of Wadley, Georgia, Jefferson County, Georgia. So they moved here to Savannah in, let's see, two sisters were born there, 42 or 43, something like that, yeah. When they moved to Savannah, 1942 or 43.
And what made them move into Tatemville?
My father was basically country, sort of, and back then, that portion of Tatemville on Maya Street was considered basically more kind of with the country atmosphere. Not a lot of families and all of that, so he kind of like that. But we could see from our backyard, there was a fence. We could see the base, Hunter Air Force Base.
Were there military people that lived in the neighborhood at all?
Not that I know of, unless they were enlisted in the military, and I don't know of anyone that was actually stationed at Hunter.
So when you were growing up, where did you go to school?
I went to, now, that's a long story. I went to the original Haven Home School where Bartlett is now located. There's a marker there that commemorates the original Haven School that went from kindergarten. Well, I don't know if I went from kindergarten, but I don't know about the kindergarten, but I know 1st through 12th grade was one of the only African-American schools that we had. And I went there in 1st grade, which would have been, I would have been 6 years old. After 1st grade, they tore Haven Home down. We got moved to DeWren Elementary. DeWren used to be an elementary school. We went to DeWren Elementary, and from DeWren Elementary, that was, let's see, 1st grade at Haven Home, 2nd grade at DeWren Elementary, 3rd grade at Butler, well, not Butler, take that back. 3rd grade at Pearl Smith. They had double sessions. And then they built Butler in in Cloverdale. Then we moved to Butler. 4th grade, my parents got tired of us being bused here and there and everywhere, and they asked for a school. So we got a school in 4th grade. That's when Haven was built. So let me see, I would have been 54, and then 63, I guess. Yeah, that's the year President Kennedy got killed. Yeah, because I remember them letting us watch some of that on TV and then letting us out of school. They let us out of school early because that was a major event at that time. Got assassinated. Kennedy got assassinated. But then we had our own school. So finally, So we had some very strong parents in our community, very, very strong parents. PTA parents, Martadines parents, that type of thing.
And their advocacy helped you get the school?
Yes.
Mm.
Yes, and really, that's still a controversial issue. The school board did eminent domain. There was some vacant property, but they did eminent domain on one of the neighborhood's families' property to build the school. Maybe one or two families' property, but I know one, and really have a lot of property. And there's still a controversy between who owns the park next to Haven Elementary School, the school board or the city. So we're going through that now. I think it's finally been resolved that it belongs to the school board. For all these years, the city has always maintained it. So I don't know, maybe they'll get it straightened out.
Where is the school located?
It's located on Dillon Avenue in Tatemville. And we have a new school now. They, oh gosh, I was at the dedication. Now, what year was that? I can't remember. But anyway, I spoke at the dedication and gave a history of the student, like what I just gave you, how we got to school originally or whatever. And now we have a new school.
And what's the name of the park next to the school?
Staley Heights Park. And from our understanding, it was always a city park because the city built the swimming pool there in 1979, I think, or 80. I know they built the swimming pool there in 1979, but they've always maintained it with the park equipment and the ball fields and all of that stuff. And now, all of a sudden, when they built the New Haven, the school board raised its ugly head and said, this is our property, and they extended part of the school for the playground for the school, took part of Staley Heights Park. Now, we hope they don't encroach any further. We're fortunate, we have two parks in our neighborhood, the Staley Heights Park, and then the Tatemville Community Center with the lake and a park there, basketball court and everything, yeah.
And where is that located?
On, the address is 333 Coleman Street. And how the lake came about being a part of Tatemville, there was a developer, and I have that information somewhere. I just don't know where it is right now to tell you who the developer was. That owned the property, dug a borrow pit for the dirt to build I don't know if it was the Veterans Parkway, the Truman Parkway, one of them. They used the dirt from it, created a borrow pit. Our parents were concerned, like I told you, we had a strong network of strong parents. We're concerned about the children playing in the borrow pit and perhaps getting drowned or whatever. So they went to the city and found out what could be done about the borrow pit. And Floyd Adams was our mayor. He went to the developer. The developer donated the property to the city on behalf of Tatemville. So that's how we ended up with the lake. And then the community center, Floyd Adams' vision, which will probably come to fruition now with the development of the fairground, was to make the Tatemville property a big community park like Lake Mayor. That was his vision. And it got shot down by Clifton Jones, who was president of Liberty City Community Association at the time. So they got a community center before we did. And we're the oldest community association in the city. And we've been asking for a community center for years. And how we got the community center, Harris Odell, Judge Harris Odell now, was our county commissioner. And he went to the county commission and asked that the SPLOS funds be designated for Tatemville Community Center. So the county built it and they asked the city to maintain it. So there's some type of agreement between the two of them. So that's how we ended up with the center. Finally, always finally, we're always the first out front, but the last to get everything. I don't understand it, but anyway, finalists, when the finalists come, we're happy.
And you said, are they working on continuing the development with the fairgrounds property, or?
I don't know where the fairgrounds property is right now. I think the holdup, because as a part of the fairground property development, there will be recreation, and it will probably butt up to the lake and to Tatemville Community Center or whatever. I'm not sure exactly, but as from my understanding, right now, the development of the fairgrounds is kind of like on hold because of the senior housing was supposed to be the first thing developed, but I think they didn't receive the tax credits. So I think that's what the problem is right now. As far as the other development, I don't know, but I know they're still working on infrastructure, traffic patterns and all of that, because it's gonna put, whenever it's fully developed, we're gonna put a big strain on the traffic. On Mating Street, where the fairgrounds is, to Staley Avenue that runs straight through Tatemville, through Montgomery Street. All of that is gonna be impounded with the traffic or whatever. So they gotta work on the infrastructure to accommodate, the sewage, all of those other things, yeah.
I don't know if I missed it. Is there a name for the lake?
Well, we just call it Lake Tatemville. So it's called the Tatemville Community Center. We've never tried to get it named after anybody, but look, I have who I would like to suggest. But
Who would you like to suggest?
my sister,
What is her name?
Gwendolyn Jackson McMillan. She was president of the association for a very long time, back during the late 60s to the mid 70s. She died in 1978. And after her death, we worked on a lot of things, like getting streets paved, getting lighting, getting the swimming pool built. All of those things, I think, went into effect after she died. Yeah, but that was her work. And I was right behind, followed her foot to foot. She was my oldest sister. So I've never been president of Tatemville Community Center Association, but I have worked diligently since I was probably about 12 years old. Yeah. So I'm aware of what's going on. Back in those early years, Roy Jackson was a city councilman. So basically, most of the African American communities went to him with our issues. And yeah.
Would you like to tell us more about the Tatemville Neighborhood Association?
Well, it was going on before I became involved with it, but I can only tell you from the 60s when my sister got involved, when she moved back home and got involved with it. We did a lot of things to raise money. Our ultimate goal was always to get a community center. Yeah, so eventually we got one, but years later.
You said it's the,
Uh,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
You said it's the oldest neighborhood association?
Yes.
What year was it?
To my knowledge. To my knowledge.
Do you know what year it was founded?
Well, I have something out there where something was organized in 1914, but I'm not sure if it was an association or whatever those organizations that they used to have, African Americans used to have back in the day, whether it was a banking type thing or what, I don't know. But I do have a banner from, a copy of it, I don't have the original banner, from those years back there. But some of the other older relatives, neighbors, I'm sorry, can tell you about what went on in the earlier years. I can only tell you from what I can remember. But we've always been active, and off and on. There was a hiatus when my sister died, and then I don't know what year it got reorganized or whatever, but we've been going on since then. We're not quite as strong as we used to be, but we're still functioning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're still functioning. There's a lot of work to be done. Yeah.
So you've mentioned like how strong the parents were. Are there any particular leaders that you'd like to tell us about?
There was quite a few. My mother was a quiet-natured person, so she wasn't particularly a leader. She was more or less a behind-the-scenes kind of person. So am I in a lot of ways. But I think in latter years, I got a little bit more outgoing. But they used to work with the PTAs at the school. They were members of the neighborhood association. They worked with the Monte Dams diligently every year. Those things I can remember our parents doing, and making sure that the community basically was a better place for everybody to live. Now, there are a lot of families, original families, that are still in Tatemville. There was one year we had a community reunion picnic, and I called it I forgot now, the magnetism of Tatemville, kinship and friendship, something, the magnetism of Tatemville. Most people come back either to live or to visit quite often. A lot of families, their children and grandchildren have actually come back to the neighborhood. So we're one of those neighborhoods that we didn't abandon it. We hope not to abandon it. Yeah, it's been around for a long time. I don't really know how long. Well, maybe the 1800s or so. What you can reference to really want to know how old Tatemville is and what the old true boundaries of Tatemville are. Read Drums and Shadows, and I forgot who the author is, but that was written back in the years of the WPA, and they documented certain African American neighborhoods, and there's a big section about Tatemville, and I forgot to bring it, but I will, because I had someone to print it for me in big writing, so we can read the section definitely about Tatemville.
That's a good reference. Interesting. Are there any, would you like to tell us about your sister's work in the community?
Oh gosh. Our basic goal was to get a community center and to make the community a better place for our neighbors, families and neighbors to live. We used to do a lot of things like have dinners and garage sales and all kinds of things to raise money. We used to have hot dog parties at the park when they had baseball games and things like that to raise money. But she was more also, that's when I think we really got involved with the city government as working directly with them, in partnership, I guess, with them to get some of the services for our community. Because back in the day, Tatemville was actually a part of the county. Now, what year we were actually annexed into the city, I can't remember. I was so young, I really don't remember. And I did the research, but right now I can't recall. But we were actually the county.
Did that change how the neighborhood operated when you were annexed?
Yes, because then that way we could go to the city for services. You know, the county wasn't really into providing services like road paving and lighting and all of that because their area was so widespread. But those were services that the city offered: water and, you know, the sewage, the street paving, the drainage, and all of those things came into play at some point in time, not all one time, but at some point in time, all of that. So now we are basically in conjunction with the city. We cooperate with them. We have a liaison person from the, Human Services Department that comes to our meetings every month and everything. We meet once a month except January because the city is, our meetings are third Mondays. The center is closed on Martin Luther King Day and Veterans Day in February. Not Veterans, President's Day in February, so we're still undecided about where the February meeting will be. So that's usually decided in December where we will have it, but we don't know yet. No, but we're still functioning. Not as strong as we used to be, but we still function. We hope to grow the association again and get it back active. But there was a group of young men that came along in the 2000s. I think it was 2000 to be exact. And they called themselves the Brotherhood of Tatemville. They were in my age range and younger, I should say, maybe a year, 2, 3 younger. They started doing things in the community, like with grants from the city, cutting the elderly's grass, having a big Thanksgiving dinner or giveaway for the sick and shut-in and elderly. We had a big community Thanksgiving dinner at one time with the sisterhood. And one community, and they also sponsored the community reunion. And one community reunion, they made a call for some women to work with them, and that's how the Sisterhood of Tatemville was formed. So we are umbrella agencies under the Tatemville Community Association.
Okay.
So they did a lot of things for the community, they really did. So, but they were all gone on, most of them were moved from the neighborhood, they were going on with their lives, so, you know. But there is a reunion that still goes on with the younger group that puts it on.
Is that an annual event?
I think it's annual. I'm not sure if it's on the same day or not. We used to do around the same day. Or should I say, the same weekend. Used to be in August. We would do it. We had, when they didn't have that back in the 70s. In the latter years when they started the Crab Night Out, when the city started participating with that, they used to have the individual neighbors would have gatherings on their street, or 2 or 3 streets would come together or whatever. But now the city does, the community have the community centers, so they do it at the different community centers. But at one time, the city did a big one, so do the big ones at Daffin Park. But I like the smaller ones better. I think I may have some pictures out there where Mayor Adams used to come around in the trolley to the different ones. So, you know, a few in the community.
When we were talking, you mentioned that you pay attention to politics and that you have an affinity for Mayor Adams. Would you like to tell us more about that?
Probably because I'm prejudiced toward him, because my brothers used to sell the newspaper for him, distribute the newspaper, sell the newspaper for him when they were younger as a part-time job. We were just young kids. And of course, sometimes sister used to help out. So, and I just grew up following him, kind of. And back then, we only had the Herald newspaper, so we just became used to him. He was like a household name, I should say, more so than anything else. And then I followed his politics. I think when he ran for mayor, he somewhat brought different factions of Savannah together. And I think he basically is the one that was mainly for community associations to develop the neighborhoods or whatever. And you can see his work in Brownsville and some of the things that he proposed that they eventually did, like in West Savannah, that were finally came to fruition or whatever. I think he was more or less a people person. Yeah, and I went to a lot of his activities, a lot of his fundraisers when he ran for office, a lot of his, I got invited to some of his Christmas parties or birthday parties or whatever that he would give for his supporters or just people in general, you know. I just felt like I was more part of his administration. Yeah.
Would you like to share anything else about your the way you're politically involved in Savannah?
Well, I'm a poll worker, so I can't get too politically involved now, but I do have political signs in my yard, and I don't normally work on campaigns. So, you know, if I do anything, it's subtle. And since I became a poll worker, before I did, you know, and I've been a poll worker with Chatham County now since 2008. Yeah, I think the Obama years kind of made me get a lot more involved. But Jimmy Carter was my favorite president. You know, I'm getting in trouble for saying that, but he really was, because he was a humanitarian. And that was something about him that most people didn't really understand. And I think when he went to Washington, same thing with Obama, when they went to Washington, they didn't know the politics of Washington. And a lot of what they wanted to do got lost.
So are there any other neighborhood leaders, that names we should know from Tatemville?
Presidents of the association, you know, I could start from my sister, Gwendolyn Jackson McMillan. There was a Mr. Sanders. I don't know, so many years in there. Some years I wasn't active. There was Herbert Scott, there was Jeanette Scott, there was James Hudson Jr., there was Mabel Hudson, and the now president is Valerie Reynolds Darby. So, and I think we're set to elect officers this year for a new set of the date. Their time is up.
So for residents of Tatemville, were there any businesses in the neighborhood?
Yes, basically African American businesses were little small convenience stores. There was two down on the side, which Tatumville is divided into different sections. Where we used to live on Maya Street was called Newtown. Then they changed the name down there. Now it's called The Bottom. And then there was the Oaks, where the school is. There was on the hill where Sherman Avenue and Mildred Street intersect, that area in there. And then there was across the highway, where's the other side of Tatemville, because Tatemville is divided in two by Staley Avenue. And what was your question? 'Cause I didn't...
Businesses.
Yeah, down in the bottom part, the Newtown part, it was Newtown then, there was two little convenience stores. And then up on the part near where I live, there was two convenience stores at the time, back in the day. And that's all I know. About businesses on Staley Avenue, I really don't remember. I think they came in latter years. Like now, there's a convenience store on Staley Avenue. There's two on Staley Avenue. There's two recycling places, and there's car repair shops. So basically, those are the only businesses in the community. Now on the Montgomery Street side, I guess those businesses would be considered in Tatemville. There's a tire company to replace tires, used tires or whatever. Then there's a dialysis place on the Montgomery side. And further down, there's a daycare, and I don't know if that dry cleaners is still in effect. All of those face Montgomery Street. Then there's a little mini shopping center where there's a bakery, and I'm not sure what else is in there. Oh, I think, is the barber shop included? I'm not sure but we have a barber shop in Tatemville on Staley Avenue. Yeah. Churches galore. There's about I don't know. In Tatemville proper, I had a list, but it included, I think I said 13, but that's fall apart. There's about 8 in Tatemville proper, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
What are some of their names?
My list probably is out there. There's, you see some of the older ones. Davis Ark Baptist Church, Jerusalem Baptist Church, St. Peter's AME Church. There's a House of Prayer, Jonesville Baptist Church, Belmont Baptist Church, it's a couple of other ones. I can't think of the names right off. I know where they are, I just can't think of it. There's about maybe about 2 or 3 other ones I didn't list.
That's pretty good. when y'all were growing up, what kind of stuff did you do for fun?
Oh, we had the park, Staley Heights Park. That's where everybody went and congregated. Well, in certain sections of Tatemville, some kids skated at Pulaski Elementary School because, back then it was segregated. We couldn't go to Pulaski, but on the weekends they would go up there to skate because that was the only pavement around. And we went to the park. The city, once they became involved with it, always supplied a park worker. So we always had someone there to conduct the activities and everything. That was more or less a centralized place for young people, basically. Yeah, because we were involved in a lot of the city leagues, athletic leagues, like softball for girls. I did play softball and volleyball and basketball for the community through the city leagues. There was also the county softball leagues, and so there was always activities. We didn't have Little League football back then. I think they have Little League football now. I'm not sure about any baseball or softball teams anymore. I don't think we have any of that.
Do you remember the team name?
We didn't really have a name. It was just Tatemville. I just know that when I played softball, it was early, would be like junior high through high school, kind of, we didn't have uniforms or jerseys, whatever, we just wore our regular things. But in the DeRen Shopping Center, there was a 5 and 10 cent store that we used to frequent back in the day. And I was in there one day, I had enough money to buy me a jersey. And it was number 68. So I had a jersey, whereas some of the other ones didn't. They just had regular t-shirts or whatever. But I played left field. And I went on to play softball for Memorial Hospital when I worked there.
Okay.
They had a softball team, women's softball team.
Very nice. Do you have any favorite memories growing up in the neighborhood?
I went on to get married. I graduated from Beach High School, 1972. I'm a Bulldog to the core, honor graduate. And I went on to Savannah State. And I'm an honor graduate from Savannah State, 1976. And I had different jobs during the years, but one job that I'm really, really proud of that was more or less included families back in the 70s. My sister Gwendolyn got a job at WSAV back in the 70s, which was kind of like unheard of. And she got me a job there, or helped me get a job there, as well as my brother. So there was 3 of us in one family, at WSAV in the 70s and 80s. Was kind of like unheard of. And I've had some very good jobs over my lifetime. Never a career, I should say, but in my experiences with those jobs, I met a lot of people. I know a lot of people. I have learned a lot of things. I can do a lot of different things. So you may as well say I'm a jack of all trades and a master of none. Well, a Jill of all trades and a master of none. So, but I don't know. There were so many different things we did back in the day. I mean, like, created our own games, and kids were outside. Now kids don't get no sunshine. My granddaughter is well, I better not say, but you can cut this out, but she's vitamin D deficient because she doesn't get enough sun. it's not outside enough.
Mm.
But take that out, because my daughter would kill me. But then I got married in 1982, August 15th, 1982. I got married in the park, Whitfield Square. And back in 1982, very few people were getting married in the parks. Now they pay an arm and a leg for a destination wedding to get married in one of Savannah's parks. But I had to get permission from the park and tree. I think I have that letter out there to have it in the park. And I swear I got married in 1982. Yeah, my first child was born, my daughter, 1984. And then my son, 7 years later, 1991. And yeah, I've been divorced for quite some time. But they're both grown. They live in different parts of the country. My daughter in Florida, my son in Texas. So I don't think I did such a bad job.
No.
With the help of my family, I must say. I did have the support of them after divorce. I don't think I could have done it alone. And my voice is changing, I'm getting hoarse. I think I've talked too much. How much more questions you got?
Well, I was just gonna say, is there anything else that you want to share for us? We can wrap it up.
Well, we just want whatever it is that the city can provide to make our community be here for generations to come. Thriving, surviving, strong, family oriented, whatever, for years to come. So that's why I'm here. I don't know if my children or whatever would ever do the history, but we're trying to archive things at home so that, you know, what we have, but it's in so many different places. I have this, my sister has that, the other sister has that. And so maybe one day we'll all get together and put it all together. Because I don't have any older pictures from when we lived on Maya Street. I know there's some, but I did not take those albums down and look. That was just too much. So I just went from what I could put my hands on that was current.